Are you looking for something to do on your lunch break? Well, there's a show on the BS3 network that has only 4 words to say to you.
We ready. We ready. We ready for y'all. We ready. We ready. We ready.
The Lunch Break with AJ, powered by JM&E. Live weekdays at noon Central.
We're live, that's right. But it's not AJ. It's me, KG Chris Gardner, owner of the Houston Roundball Review. And welcome to another edition of the Houston Roundball Review takeover of the lunch break, powered by JM&E. Streaming to you live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and of course on Roku on the BS3 network. Yes, that's right, Cody Davis. You and me, brother, are on Roku as well. Cody, how you doing, man? Good to see you.
I'm doing good, Chris. Thank you so much for having me, man.
My pleasure, man. For folks who don't know who you are, give them a little insight of who Cody Davis is and what you do.
Well, I'm a beat reporter covering both the Houston Texans and the Houston Rockets for Sports Illustrated, and I'm also the co-host of a daily podcast, Locked On Texans. You can follow Locked On Texans on all your favorite podcast streaming services. I host it with myself and my co-host, really good friend of mine from back in college, John Hickman, and we talk Texans every day for about 25 to 30 minutes every day, Monday through Friday.
Texans. Yeah, that's right. We're going to talk Texans here. See, already got folks chiming in. Another Cougar, Corey Miller. How are you doing? Mm-hmm. Corey's watching on the Houston Roundball Review on YouTube. But yeah, we're going to talk NBA Finals, Rockets, all that stuff. But let's talk some Texans, man. Were you able to attend any of the OTAs?
Oh, yeah. I've been there every single week. Actually, it was a 3-week OTA period. Been there every single day. They only have allowed media to come, I want to say once every week. So I've been to every practice, put it like that.
And speaking of, AJ Jones wanted me to tell you hi. So AD Moore and everybody says, yeah. So it's good. See, you got people chiming in. Cody, these are my loyal followers here. Tony M.
What's up, Tony?
Wise Citizens. See, these are folks who regularly watch on YouTube on Houston Roundball Review.
Mm-hmm.
All right, man. For a little bit that media gets to see of OTAs, what have you seen so far? Has anybody impressed you? Well, first, let me back up because I haven't talked to you about this. What are your thoughts on the head coach, D'Amico Ryans?
I like it. One thing about covering both the Texans and the Rockets, and Chris, I think I joked with you about this a couple of times. I kind of feel like I'm the bad luck person because yeah. As soon as I came around, that's when both franchises was like, you know what? Let's hit the rebuild button. And of course, both franchises had to go through a terrible rebuild. And for the Houston Texans, it was like, oh my God, like what is going on? Because several stories just started coming out. You started learning things about, what was going on behind the scenes. And it was like, oh my God, what in the world is going on? But when you look at the hiring of Coach D'Amico Ryans, the one thing that I always say is the fact that Coach D'Amico Ryans has really brought stability back to that organization, because over the last 3 years, ever since they lost that big lead to Kansas City during the 2019 playoffs, it's basically been downhill since then. Mm-hmm. You have went through 4 coaches. Some people like to say 5 when you consider Romeo Cannell had a short stint as the interim head coach following Bill O'Brien's departure. Then you also have to look at the 1 year that they had with David Culley, and of course last year that they had with Lovie Smith. And the one thing about the Houston Texans rebuild is the fact that every single one of those coaches, even though I did like David Culley, also like Lovie Smith, respect both of them. And in my opinion, I think David Culley actually got better as the season went on. But you knew that neither one of those candidates that they had was going to be the long-term option for the Houston Texans. And Chris, you've been around the Houston Rockets. This is what, this third rebuild that they have undergone since I think you've been around, I want to say.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah.
And I think you could attest to this too. Yes, you can bring in the talent. Yes, you could bring in veterans, but at the end of the day, you need to make sure that you have a strong coaching staff. And that is what Coach D'Amico Ryans is. He is a coach that has brought some stability. He has given the Houston Texans a chance to revamp their image. And when you take a look at the staff that he has brought, from the offensive coordinator and Bobby Slowick, the position coaches, the coordinators, like, he has really put together a staff to where you say, you know what? Yes, he is the head coach, but a lot of the guys that he's going to be working with is good enough to not only help the Houston Texans win more games in 2023 and get back to, in my opinion, get even better than what this franchise has ever been, but it's going to help a lot of these young guys that we are anticipating have really good, really long and successful careers with the Houston Texans.
I want to give you this shout out as well. Ahmad, glad to see both of us together. I listened to both of you on the Legend Radio show. It was great. So, see, you got fans, I got fans. Salute to you. And I'm glad you're able to join me today. We haven't been able to make it work as often as we'd like, but you're busy,
Yeah.
I'm busy. And I think we met when you were covering the Cougs, right? I think that's where we met. First time where we met.
Yep. Covering the Cougs, that 2019-20 season.
Yep. Well, this question for you from Corey. How has CJ Stroud looked to you?
He's looked so good. Pause. I had to make sure I say pause, but man, CJ Stroud, you can tell that this young man actually has a future. Actually, on Tuesday was the last day of OTA practices that the Texans allowed the media to be a part of, and I had an opportunity to watch CJ Stroud go through team situationals, and they drew up a situation. Mm-hmm. The offense was down to the defense. I believe it was 17-21. They gave them 1:10 on their own 46-yard line, if I'm not mistaken. And of course, it was the offense job to move down the field and see if they can score. And CJ Stroud, I believe it was his second attempt, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it was second and 10. He connected with, I'm trying to remember who that wide receiver was. Anyways, long story short, he connected with a long ball to, I believe it was Philip Dorsett. Not Philip Dorsett. I'm trying to remember the wide receiver name.
So it wasn't Tank Dell? Because that was going to be one of my next questions.
It wasn't Tank Dell. Was that? Hold on. Let me look at my notes really quick because I wrote it down. No, this is my notes really quick, guys.
No, this is live. This is live streaming on Roku, man. You all good. We family here, man. No worries at all.
Gotcha. So doing that situational that I just described, the Houston Texans had the offense down 21-17 with 1:10 left in the fourth quarter. And CJ Stroud drove the Houston Texans offense down the field. He went 5 for 7. The best play that he had during that drive, he connected for a 30-yard bomb with Amari Rodgers for 30 yards, and he threw a touchdown pass that ended the drive to Alex Bachman. I'm saying all that just to try to set up a visual of how good CJ Stroud is this early in his career. And even when he's going through his 7-on-7 and 11-on-11 drills and the ball might be tipped or whatever, what I like most about CJ Stroud as of right now, and I know it's still early, is his ball placement. Because even if it's an incompletion, even if it's a drop pass, even if the secondary can get their hands on the ball, it is basically still a perfect pass. And that is something that the Texans was kind of struggling with over the last couple of seasons. And no disrespect to Davis Mills, because I've also seen some improvements in Davis Mills' game as well. But the ball placement that CJ Stroud has, the calmness, the demeanor, like I just mentioned, He led the Texans offense in a fourth quarter situational drive. And before that, Davis Mills had an opportunity to do so. And it didn't work. It worked so well for my guy.
Okay.
But CJ Stroud, man, these first couple of weeks that we have been able to see him, it's been really good. Like, I'm already seeing a good connection between him and Nico Collins, who I do believe is going to have a really good year for the Texans entering his third season. I know everybody wants to know about Tank Dell,
Right.
the connection, the 713 connection that a lot of people are already loving. It's already there, man. Like, once again, I understand it's early. It's OTAs, mandatory mini camp start next week. We still got to go through training camp preseason, then the real, season start. But as of right now, CJ Stroud has looked really good.
Excellent. Well, you touched on a little bit with a little tease. So let me just go ahead and officially ask you about the former, well, he's a Cougar alum, Tank Dell. How was Tank look to you? Just not necessarily with CJ Stroud and that connection, but what have you seen? What have you been impressed by from Tank?
One, he's every time he's on the field, he just goes out there and make plays. He's been running with the second team a little bit, but I have noticed that they're going to use Tank Dell. Well, as of right now, it seems like they're going to use Tank Dell a lot as a kick returner because on there's been several moments where they're going through special teams and Tank Dell is one of, if not the primary returner. And it makes sense because their primary returner, I believe it was Tremont Smith, who was one of the DBs. He had that role over the last couple of seasons, but he signed with the Tennessee Titans, if I'm not mistaken, in free agency. But so they need a designated kickoff returner, and that is basically going to be Tank Dell role, at least as of right now, throughout his rookie season. They're going to utilize him in the passing game. And like I mentioned, every single time he's out there on the field, whether it's 7-on-7, 11-on-11, or team situationals, he is going out there and making plays. He has looked really good. He is on the smaller side, but I am not going to stress about that because, Chris, as you know, with college prospects, when they get into the big league and they need to add on weight, they need to add on muscle, they're going to get with the team's strength and conditioning coaches and stuff, and they're going to get them to where they need to be. So actually, I'm one of the reporters that's not about to just dwell on how small Tank Dell look or whatever. The talent is there. I know he's going to get with the strength and conditioning coaches to add on some weight, add on some muscle that is needed. And I think he's in line for a really good rookie season.
Excellent, man. And reminding everybody, you're watching the lunch break here, powered by JM&E, streaming to you live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and of course on Roku, Cody, on the BS3 network. And if you don't have the BS3 app, get it Roku and download it, or go to bs3network.com. We're going to take this quick break for about 70 seconds and come back. We're going to talk more Texans, more Rockets, NBA Finals, because I got to ask Cody about Steven Silas joining a real franchise. We'll be back momentarily. Take care.
If you're looking for a sports program that gives you the flavor.
Washington Commanders? Really?
This whole thing stinks to high heaven.
That pulls no punches.
Thuggish act by a thuggish actor.
That gives you some humor.
Praise everything LeBron does and never criticize it.
If you want a show that gives you good times, then this is that show. BS3 Network proudly presents.
I am Cole Johnson, and welcome to
Cole Sports with a Z. Every Friday on Patreon and every Saturday on YouTube, Spreaker, and all other outlets.
Welcome back to the Houston Roundball Review takeover of the lunch break on Throwback Thursday. Lunch break powered by JM&E. I am KG Chris Gardner, owner of the Houston Roundball Review. And with me today is Cody Davis, Sports Illustrated's Cody Davis. Locked On Texans, Cody Davis. We're talking Texans. We're going to talk some Rockets. He and I go back a few years. He's a bit younger than I am, even though we both, look about the same in age, but that's okay. But we're talking Texans right now. Cody, have you noticed a difference with D'Amico Ryans in charge compared to the previous head coaches? And if so, what's the difference?
Oh yeah, like I mentioned, and I think the biggest thing is, when I talk about the respect that Coach D'Amico Ryans has brought back to that organization, the last couple of seasons, there was always like a dark cloud hanging over this franchise. And I'm not about to go into all that because we already know the whole story, especially with the former franchise quarterback. We already know. Now it finally seems like with Coach D'Amico Ryans that this team is finally moving out of that dark era of Houston Texans football. And it's not only promising, but it's like, okay, this is something that we can actually get behind. And, on Tuesday, the last day of OTA practices that they allowed the media to be out there, there was a handful of former players who was out there showing their support. And that's something that we did not see over the last couple of seasons. Yeah, every now and then Andre Johnson would show up with a couple of people, more so during the Lovie Smith tenure. Didn't see too much during the David Culley era, but that was also the same COVID restriction year. So, that also played into the factor as to why a lot of former teammates didn't show their support. But I've never seen the Texans alumni support that strong until Tuesday. Like to see so many former guys. And you also got to remember that D'Amico Ryans isn't far removed from his playing days, which means a lot of the former guys like Andre Johnson, who are showing their support, even JJ Watt, who, had a couple things to say about this franchise when he first, walked away. I believe it was in 2021 when he joined the Arizona Cardinals. Now to see him show his love, his support, his respect for this organization. It's the fact that is a clear indication and a clear example as to what D'Amico Ryans has done for this franchise. And then on Tuesday, we had an opportunity to talk to tight end Dalton Schultz. And Dalton is one of several players when he's asked, why did you take a 1-year deal to come to the Texans? Because he is, one of the most reliable tight ends in this league. And I'm pretty sure he had other suitors that he could have went to. He came from the Dallas Cowboys, even though I don't like that team, don't like that franchise. Got to respect them. They've been doing their thing over the last couple of years. But he's coming from a playoff caliber team to come join a rebuilding team, a team that has only won 11 games in 3 years. That's terrible.
Right.
But, to hear him say part of the reason why I wanted to come join the Texans is because of what I know about D'Amico Ryans. It's because I understand and believe in his defensive schemes. And he even joked about how San Fran kicked the Dallas Cowboys out of the playoffs over the last 2 seasons. He was like, Coach D'Amico Ryans is special. And to hear that not only from Dalton, but from several players and even from the younger guys like Brevin Jordan and Nico Collins, who has been here and has seen nothing but a chaotic situation with this franchise in their first couple of years in the league, to hear them all rave about how Coach D'Amico Ryans has changed this franchise, we are seeing it in real time.
Excellent. Gotta give a salute to the BS3 Network because, hey, the show is streaming live on the BS3 Network and got to make them happy. So if they're chiming in, we appreciate that as well. How long, Cody, have you covered the Texans?
I covered them since 2020. So this is going into my 4th season of covering the Texans. So like I mentioned, the beginning of the downfall. I covered them a little bit in 2019, which was that last good season. Because that was like the first year that we started doing Locked On Texans, but it was kind of rough. So I just called that like my preview stage. But I really started covering them on the beat when I was still part of ESPN Houston Sports Map. I really started covering them on the beat during the whole COVID-19 season when everything was virtual. That's when I really started covering them on the beat every single day. And like I mentioned, I've seen the downfall in person.
So yeah, you see nothing but Nothing but losses.
Nothing but losses, nothing but chaotic situations.
So yeah, if anybody, folks who are watching us on all of our platforms, if you have questions for me or Cody about the Texans, send them in. I got one for you. You want to do it now? Make a prediction on wins, number of wins for the Texans this coming season.
Oh, I do it now.
All right, what you got?
I got them winning 5 games.
Okay.
I know they only won 3 last year and 4 the previous 2 seasons. And some people might think I'm selling them short because I got them at 5 wins. However, there's a lot of expectations that we have for Coach D'Amico Ryans, rookie quarterback CJ Stroud, Tank Dale, you know, the second year guys like a Jalen Petrie, Derek Stingley, Damian Pierce, you know, even some of the third year guys. The one thing I want a lot of fans, people in our field, media and stuff to keep in mind is that even though we have a lot of expectations, we got to be realistic because Coach D'Amico Ryans is going into his first season as a head coach. Offensive coordinator Bobby Sloyer, who I believe is going to create some really good offensive packages. This is his first time being an offensive coordinator. He was the passing game coordinator under Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco. I'm expecting in the next couple of years to add CJ Stroud's name into a top 10 list of quarterbacks in the league, but he's still a rookie quarterback. Right. Damian Pierce is a phenomenal player entering his second season. The same thing for Jalen Petrie, same thing for Derek Stingley Jr., but they're still young. What I'm getting at is it's going to take time for the coaching staff and these young players that we have a lot of expectations for. It's going to take time for them to truly get a hold of what they want to do as a franchise, going out there for the younger guys, getting accustomed to playing the game on an NFL level. And I think that those first couple of games is going to be a couple close losses. Now, I got them at 5 wins, but it's going to be one of those promising 5 wins, not like 5 wins. Oh my God, it's time to fire the coach and blow everything up again. No, it's going to be 5 wins to where you look back at the season and say, okay, they just basically lost a lot of these games due to the inexperience that a lot of these players and some of the coaches have as well.
So you're saying there's hope?
Yeah, there's the most definitely hope.
Because Tony M, not even worth a ticket, might watch a game on TV. But then his next comment is more positive. Good luck, Texans. So
you definitely gonna want to watch the Texans this year. Like, but like this, they're definitely gonna be watchable. And like I mentioned, 5 games, 5 wins in 2023 is my prediction. But this is going to be a competitive team. And like I mentioned, when they lose, it's not going to be like 46-6. It's nothing like that. It's going to be one of those 27-24. You know, once again, you lost due to the lack of experience that you had.
I think AD Moore, you and him about on the same page. I want to say he had 5 or 6 wins for them also. Need to check with him out on that. But let's shift gears. The man right here who I played the spot for earlier and who I need to talk to about making a spot for me for this show, Cole Johnson. Saying good afternoon to you, Cody.
What's up, man?
How do the Texans compare to the Rockets in terms of chaos these last 3 years? How's it going to be?
Man, me and Big Sarge, we joke about this a lot. They mirror each other so much.
Hold up. We gotta talk about this comment right here.
Kyle, y'all say that every single year. Y'all been saying that since 97, which was the last time I think y'all won. 90, almost 30 years. 30 years. And y'all still talking about it y'all year. Okay, sure. Oh my gosh. But to get back to the topic about the Texans and Rockets, they just mirror each other a lot, you know. And it's funny because I can't remember what month it is. I think it got to be sometime in October. There's this tweet that somebody tweet out every single year in October. And it was this awesome epic weekend in 2018. And the Astros, I think they had just clinched to get to the World Series. I believe Deshaun Watson and Will Fuller and DeAndre Hopkins like dominated the Falcons like 53-17 or something like that. And then James Harden had one of his many 50 triple double points and all that. Like all of this happened in one weekend, and every single, I think it's October, somebody tweet this out. Like this how lit Houston sports was.
Yes.
And to see that tweet and to be a part of what has transpired since, especially for the Texans and the Rockets, like it's eerie at times because majority, if not all of their franchise players wanted out at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Both franchises blew a winnable playoff game at the same time. They hit the reset button at the same time. The Rockets has been a little bit more positive because they didn't have the unfortunate circumstances that the Houston Texans had with former stars and some skeletons they had in their closet. Whether, we're not about to get into all that, but it's just eerie because both of these franchises fell at the same time. And it's kind of promising that both franchises are looking like this year is going to be the year where they finally take the turn in order to get to that next step in the rebuild. Chris, you was a part of Ime Udoka press conference, and the one thing that we kept hearing is the fact that the Houston Rockets are now entering phase 2 of their rebuild. And even though the Houston Texans didn't, mention phases or anything like that, and general manager Nick Caserio has never, came out and say, oh, this is a rebuild, blah, 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 blah. You can tell by what he has been saying, what ownership has been saying, what Coach D'Amico Ryans has been saying. Like, this is a team that is ready to move forward in their quote-unquote second phase of a rebuild. Even the general managers, like Nick Caserio and Raphael Stones, even they mirror each other for both the good and the bad. And, the best thing I will say about both franchises with both general managers is their ability to identify talent, especially in the draft. Like, I think regardless of what the draft capital looked like for both organizations, I always want to make sure I give respect to Raphael Stone and Nick Caserio that they have done a really good job putting together young pieces around both franchises. It's part of the reason why, look, the last 2 years has been bad, but here we are sitting here on June 8, 2023, and it's like, okay, we're finally going to start seeing both franchises take a turn for the better.
I'm going back to the Cowboy fan. I won't refer to him, his team with the nickname that I do refer to them. Yeah, I will. The Cowgirls fan. See, he's got to go back to this 5 times champion. How long ago was that, Cody?
The first one or first 2 came in the 70s. I think the last 3 came, of course, in the 90s.
With the triplets, right?
Yeah, like, come on, man.
And see, the Cole has a response right there. Yeah. They do that every year, and my former team that I will root for once the change in ownership becomes official was ruined by an owner who was just inept in what he did.
Mm-hmm.
But even the Commanders fans, most of them are open. Their eyes are open to reality. Dallas fans are some of the most blindly loyal fans for no reason whatsoever. Haven't won. And how old are you, Cody?
I'm 30. I'll be 31 in July.
So almost as long as you've been alive was the last time you went to the Super Bowl.
Exactly.
But, this is our year. This is our year. Okay.
Every year is their year. Every year is their year.
Every year, every year, see, wise citizens right there, 30 years. Hey, this is our year. Okay. Be consistent with it. I admire that for you, consistent with it. But
oh my goodness.
Oh, here's a good question. Will CJ start? If not, how many games before they put him in?
That's an interesting question because, like I said, we've been out there for 3 days in OTAs once a week. The first week, Davis Mills took 13 reps. The second week, CJ Stroud took first team reps. The third week, they split first team reps, but Davis Mills did get the bulk of those reps. As of right now, I'm going to say he's not going to start come the opening week. I think they're going to give him time to learn from afar. And I know a lot of people might hear that and say, oh my God, why wouldn't they start CJ Stroud week 1? And look, I only saw CJ Stroud for 3 times in OTAs, and I think 2 times during rookie minicamp. So that's 5 times, and I'm already saying that he is the best quarterback in the room. I 100% feel confident by saying that. However, I also personally think it might be best if the Texans don't start CJ Stroud and throw him in the fire right away. And I only say that because right now, the Texans, as everybody should expect, and don't get too much in the uproar about this because I already knew that this was going to happen. We know between now and leading up to week 1 of the 2023 season, we're going to hear it's a quarterback competition. You already know you're going to hear that. However, if they do start Davis Mills, do not freak out because I personally think that's best. Only because when I go back and I look at what Davis Mills has went through over the last 2 seasons, we have seen both the good and bad of Davis Mills. And the one thing I noticed is a lot of the good that we have seen out of Davis Mills came after they pulled him from being a starter and gave him an opportunity to learn the game from afar. And in 2021 and in 2022, both times when he got pulled, unfortunately, and when he returned, and looked pretty good when he returned. Both times I remember asking Davis Mills, what has been different about your performance before your benching? Remember, that was in 2021, his rookie season, in 2022, his sophomore season. And the one thing that he said both times was that every time he got pulled, it gave him more of an opportunity to learn from his mistakes. Because he said, when you are a starting quarterback, you go out there and play the game on Sunday, you have film study or whatever that Monday, and then it's time to move on to the next opponent because you're the starting quarterback. You got to learn quick. It's time to move on. So both times he said, you really didn't get a true way of just learning from your mistakes. However, when he's learning from afar, sitting on the bench, and he's not the starter, he gets an opportunity to truly lock in and see where he went wrong, where the starting quarterback went wrong, and it gave him more of an opportunity to learn from his mistakes. But this is the big one, to adjust to the speed of the game. Yes. Chris, I've only been covering sports in person for 3 going on my 4th years for both the Rockets and the Texans. And I've been around enough young guys to say adjusting to the speed on a pro level is the most important attribute for all of your young guys. And I think that is going to be beneficial. Let's say if the Texans start Davis Mills for the first 4 games of the season, I think CJ Stroud would end up benefiting from that more versus if they just start him, just throw him in the fire week 1 against the Baltimore Ravens. So, it's going to suck. We are all, excited and can't wait to see the CJ Stroud. But like I mentioned, if he's able to take a month just to learn from afar, learn, how things actually go in game, it's going to benefit him even more later on in his career when these games really become important.
Answer this question from Mudbone, and then we'll take a break. And then after that break, we'll talk Rockets. Any standouts at wide receiver position in OTAs?
Nico Collins. I think the one thing about Nico, he has to stay healthy. That is the number one thing. He talked about that early on in the week, and my co-host John and I even wrote about this on Sports Illustrated, how him being healthy is really going to unlock his potential, because the one thing about Nico, we have seen the potential ever since his rookie season in 2021. However, he hasn't been healthy. Now he has changed up his body. He feel like he can play a full 17 game season, and the quarterback play is going to be better. Let me just say that. And I know I just told you guys, that CJ Stroud could benefit from at least starting the first month on the bench, learning from afar, but eventually he's going to take over as the starting quarterback. And when that happens, better quarterback play means a better version of Nico Collins. And Nico is truly starting to, in my opinion, learn how to use his 6'4" stature in order to go up there and just get those 50-50 balls. And look, a part of that was on him. Another part of that was due to the inabilities of his quarterbacks. But Another thing that Nico has talked about is how much this new offense under offensive coordinator Bobby Sloyd, has really given him an opportunity to open up his game as a wide receiver. And look, like, I know it's early. We only seen him in 3 practices as of right now, but it didn't matter if it was 7-on-7, 11-on-11, or team situationals. Nico Collins has went out there and actually made plays. And I know some people might think to yourself, well, how much credit can you give a wide receiver like Nico Collins going up against his teammates on the opposite side of the line of scrimmage? Let me tell you guys something. That secondary, headlined by second-year prospects Darius Stingley Jr., Jalen Petrie. You added veteran Jamie Ward and other guys that they added to that secondary unit. That secondary group is going to be very, very special. And for Nico Collins to go out there and produce against that secondary and that defense lets me know that he is in line for a big third season. And of course, just throwing this in there as well, Derek Stingley, Jalen Petrie, another standout in OTAs as of right now.
Give you props here from my man Willie Gibson. Great insight.
Appreciate it.
Salute to you. Real quick. Mudbone, ask another question. The trenches. Who's look good in offensive line, defensive line?
That one is kind of hard to determine because a lot of the quote unquote real important people, they're not there, i.e. Laramie Tunsil. He's not there. He'll be showing up next week. The one guy that I was truly excited to see was second-year prospect Keon Green, but unfortunately he's been dealing with some injuries himself, and so he's not ready. I will say Titus Howard, man, I've been saying it a lot ever since the start of this offseason. Get the deal done now. Don't wait until the start of the 2023 season, because Chris, what's that saying? Yesterday's prices, is it today's prices?
That's right.
I feel like every single day that goes by, the price is getting higher and higher. When you look in the trenches, you got yourself a franchise quarterback. That offensive line is shaping up to be really, really good. The right side, Titus Howard, you pair him up with I can't think of my guy's name right now. His name's Shaq. Hold on, let me look at the roster real quick.
That's all right, man. Everybody, Cody Davis give you insight.
Got my roster right here.
That's all right. Cody Davis give you insight here on the Texans, about the Texans.
Shaq Mason.
There you go.
That right side of that offensive line has looked really good, and that's why I keep saying make sure that if General Manager Nick Caserio doesn't do anything for the start of the 2023 season, lock Titus Howard up now. On the defensive line, a lot of the important guys, same thing. They are not there. However, I would like to say that Jonathan Grenard going into his 4th season, which is going to be really big for him because this is a contract season, he has looked really good in OTAs as well.
You're watching the Houston Roundball Review Takeover on the lunch break, powered by JM&E. Be back in 90 seconds. This clip will give you an indication of what we do here on the BS3 network.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.
Welcome back to the final segment of the Houston Roundball Review takeover of the lunch break, powered by JM&E. I'm KG Chris Gardner, owner of the Houston Roundball Review. Joining me today is Cody Davis from Sports Illustrated and Locked on Texans. This last few moments, we're going to talk Rockets, James Harden, NBA draft. I haven't got your thoughts on it, my man. What do you think? Should the Rockets sign James Harden?
No, plain and simple. No. And I get it. James, look, like my thing is this. I don't know what would be the reasoning behind signing James Harden, because first and foremost, he's not going to come in and be the James Harden that he was for 8.5, 9 years here in Houston. And you talking about at that time, he was by far a top 5 shooting guard of all times, like outside of Jordan, Kobe, and Dwayne Wade. You're not putting too many off-ball guards over James. Let me just go ahead and say that right now. But at this stage in his career, I'm like, what are we doing? What is he going to provide to this organization? Because
tickets. You're going to sell tickets.
Really? No. And then same thing for him. Like, what is it that you're trying to accomplish if you come back to Houston? Look, the biggest reason why I'm against James coming to Houston, the one thing about the Houston Rockets, regardless of what their record has looked like over the last 2 seasons, they already have their foundation in place. And I don't see how adding James Harden, what these guys are going to benefit from, especially when you have your two younger guards in Jalen Green and Kevin Porter Jr. And the one thing that really turned me off the most about having James come back to Houston is that report that came out that said not only does he want his money, and rightfully so, never against counting people's pockets, but the one thing that really turned me off, he said he wanted a franchise that will allow him to play his game.
Yeah.
Not Chris. I only saw it in person for what was that, like a couple games? I think I count on 2 hands, but watched a lot of James Harden on TV. You saw it his entire tenure here in Houston. These young Rockets, especially somebody like a Jalen Green, is not going to benefit from having James Harden dribble, and then passing off to him and Şengün and Jalen Smith for the last 3 seconds of the shot clock because he couldn't get his own shot off. Like, we know that's what James Harden's game is going to be. And then I'm all about adding veterans here. I don't think James Harden is the right veteran for this young team. And I just don't see this as a winnable situation if he returns to Houston. And then on the flip side of this, I'm like, James, man, I'm no James Harden hater. Like, this past playoff series, I was rooting for the 76ers so much to the point I was hurt when they got eliminated by the Boston Celtics. Like, it's been a while since I've been hurt due to a loss. And I was hurt I was hurt after game 6 because I knew that the 76ers wasn't going to go back to Boston and win game 7. So let me just say, I was hurt after game 6. I want to see James Harden win a championship so bad because I don't want him to be put in that box with a Charles Barkley to saying, oh, you're so great, but everybody knocking your greatness because you never won a championship.
We're going to get to Corey Miller's draft question in a moment. But from Tony M., all my years of watching NBA, I've never seen a player of his caliber say, I don't want a ring. Send me to the worst team in the conference. Your thoughts on that?
I agree. And then it's like, if James comes here, he's older. A lot of the things that he was capable to do here in Houston, we don't see it that much. Unfortunately, he put on a little bit more weight than when he was here in Houston. Like, even if he comes here, how much better that's going to make the Rockets a play-in tournament team? Because then you take a look at the teams that actually made the playoffs, it's like I don't have the Rockets being better than those teams with or without James Harden. Agreed. So, like, once again, what are we doing? And then I think the biggest issue is, and I think a lot of people are not really looking at this, you signed James Harden to a max contract. What is that? 4 years now. Within those 4 years, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're going to have to pay Jalen Green, Alperen Şengün, and Jabari Smith Jr. within that time frame.
Yep.
So then that's going to mess up the money side of things. And one of my biggest fears, Chris, is having James back. And let's say about 5 years go by, we all on Twitter, if Twitter still exists by then, and we all on Twitter, whatever social media, and you know how they do those graphics, and we see Jalen Green in another jersey, Jabari in another jersey, LP in another jersey, and at the bottom, we see all of them in a Rockets jersey, and somebody said, oh, the Rockets had all of these young guys. My biggest fear, because look, even though the Lakers did get a championship out of it, how many times do we have seen that graphic of D'Lo and Brandon Ingram and Julius Randle and Lonzo, like all of these young guys all together one season with the Lakers because they was young. You know, they traded all of them after they got LeBron. Look, say what you want about the championship, bubble championship or not, even though they
Still
haven't
counted.
validated it since
Still
the
counted.
bubble, it still count.
Yep.
But it's crazy to see how all of those young players have thrived. And it's like, man, what would the Lakers be had they just given that young team an opportunity to just develop? They'd probably be in a better situation than when the Asian broke down Anthony Davis as of right now. That's just the way I look at it. And like I mentioned, and I think that's another version of this whole James Harden thing is the fact, how is his max contract going to affect the money? Because at some point you're going to have to pay those three guys that you're looking at as cornerstone, is even other guys like a Kevin Porter Jr. I consider him as a cornerstone player. Whoever you pick up with the number 4 pick, or whoever you trade and move, like I just don't see this being a winnable situation on no end if James Harden comes back for the Houston Rockets and for James himself.
We're going to talk draft and get back to the coaching situation. What do you think? You're Rafael Stone, 4th pick. Do you use the pick, keep the player drafted, package a pick in a trade? What do you do, Mr. Stone? Mr. Cody Davis, Rafael Stone?
I'm drafting Cam Whitmore from Villanova.
Now, are you doing that because I want him to go to the Pistons? Is that why you're doing that?
No, I'm doing it because the Rockets, like I mentioned, they already have their cornerstone in place. They got $60 million in cap space. You got the number 4 pick in the draft, and you got the number 20th pick in the draft. I'm hoping that the Rockets, Rafael Stone, and whoever else he's making these decisions with, whether it's Ime Udoka, whoever, I'm hoping that they go with fit other than talent. Don't go after talent. Don't go after a big name player just because it's a big name player. Because like I mentioned, you already have your cornerstones in place. And I think this is going to be the year that Jalen Green definitely take that leap. Kevin Porter Jr. has already showcased that he's already on that verge of taking that leap. You bring in Ime Udoka, who's a defensive-minded coach, and I think that's going to be very beneficial for a guy like Jabari Smith Jr. and Tari Eason. Of course, you got LP in the midst of all this. So there are some holes that you need to fill, especially at the 3 spot. And I love KJ Martin, but that is a position where they can upgrade. Just go out and draft Cam Whitmore because that is fit versus talent. I know a lot of people are high on Ahmad Thompson. I think that's how you say his name.
I've heard amen. Amen.
I know it's not amen. I know it's not amen. I think it's a men. I don't know. It's not amen. I know that for a fact. But even when you take a look at one of the Thompson twins, like, yeah, there's talented, but what benefit is it going to be to add another ball dominant guard to this team when you already got 2 that's pretty good as of right now? Like, what are we doing? It's not hard. Go and get somebody that can help you in transition. Cam Whitmore. Go and get somebody that's going to help you on the defensive side of the ball. Cam Whitmore. Go and get somebody that's going to help you on the glass, both on the offensive end and the defensive end. Cam Whitmore. It seems like an easy decision to me.
What if the other twin can do that at the 3 spot?
The other twin can do that, but and then it's another thing. I'm not big on neither one of the twins. No disrespect to them, but I'm not picking neither one of those twins with the number 4 overall pick because I think that's too high coming from a program to where you're basically just playing against high schoolers. I had my doubts about the G League, but after watching Jalen Green for over the last 2 years, I think G League is the way to go if you don't go to college or go overseas. Overtime elite, I got a seed, and as of right now, I haven't really seen anything. Like, I've seen highlights from the Thompson twins. I did my film study and stuff. There's nothing that has stood out to me about neither one of them, and that's no disrespect to neither one of those guys. But if one of those twins are on your list, I think it might be better if you trade down and draft him. And when you trade down and draft him, then you're looking at the other twin. I think the other twin is Asar Thompson because he's fit that role that the Houston Rockets need to upgrade at that 3 position and be somebody that can help you in transition on defense and on the glass.
Well, ESPN's draft guy had Asar going to the Rockets at 4. So would you?
Like I said, I'm not big on the overtime elite program. Like I said, I gotta see because I had my doubts about the G League, and what was that game? The 3rd game of his career against the Boston Celtics. Jalen Green dropped 30. I'm like, okay, G League is the way to go. Then you got School Henderson. Okay, G League is the way to go. But I like I said, I gotta see it. I just have my doubts.
All right, we got 5 minutes left. Your thoughts on Coach Udoka as the head coach of the Rockets?
First and foremost, share a tip for my guy Steven Silas. Really gonna miss Silas, but I think Coach Ime Udoka was the best hire. Because the one thing that he provides to this team that they definitely lack is defense. And when you look back at his 1 year with the Boston Celtics, the Celtics was one of the best defensive teams in the league. And that is an area that they definitely need help with. And look, Chris, you know how I feel about my guy, Steven Silas. I was rooting for him to get that 1 more year to pick up that option. Just give him 1 more year. Trust me, I was. But I understood it, and it was time for both parties to move on. And I think Coach Steven Silas is going to do a really good job in Detroit helping, develop those young guys. And the reason why I'm so big on Coach Steven Silas is the fact that he definitely has a niche about how the way he developed young guys. And he has done that for 20 years. We talking about guys from Baron Davis, Kemba Walker, to now Luka Doncic, to guys that have their name in GOAT conversations, LeBron James, Steph Curry, and now you can add Jalen Green, Jabari Smith Jr., and Kevin Porter Jr. into that list. Like, he knows how to develop young talent. He knows how to develop early young talent. And the work that he has done to get Jalen Green, Jabari, Kevin Porter, LP, they're like on the cusp of a breakout. You move on from him, you add in Coach Ime Udoka. I think Coach Ime Udoka is going to be that coach to finally get this organization with those guys alone back to being a respectable franchise, back to being a competitive franchise where we're not looking up in the second quarter and they're already down by 20 points. No, like, he's definitely going to change the dynamic in what the Rockets were missing over the last couple of seasons. And look, I can't lie, I am a little excited to see what Coach Ime Udoka is going to bring.
If he's waived, should the Rockets pick up Chris Paul or even trade for him if you're the Rockets?
Don't trade for him. I would say pick him up, but I definitely know Chris Paul ain't coming here. I already know that's a done deal. You remember how he left this organization and the things that went down. But honestly, I wouldn't be mad if they brought Chris Paul back. I would prefer Chris Paul back than James Harden. I only say that because you already know how beneficial Chris Paul can actually be to a young rebuilding franchise. Just take a look at what he did for the Oklahoma City Thunder. And he instilled so much into that. They're still thriving off that 1 year that he had. And when I say thriving, I'm talking about how the way he was able to help all of those young guys. Like, I would be okay with a Chris Paul reunion, but I definitely know that's like for Chris Paul at least way down the line.
And for those watching on YouTube and Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, etc., and of course Roku on the BSU network, Jarris Walker, Cougars, Jarris Walker. I've seen one mock draft, I think it's CBS Sports. Gary Parrish, I think it was Gary Parrish, had Jarris Walker and Marcus Sasser going in the first round, both to the Pacers. Jarris at 7 and Marcus at 29, if not 26. So I wouldn't be shocked if Marcus is not, if he doesn't go in the first round. with the 31st pick in the 2023 NBA draft, the first pick of the second round, the Detroit Pistons select from Houston guard Marcus Sasser. I don't believe I don't think he'll fall past 31 in Detroit, but I'm just saying all of that. All right, my man. A lot of fun. Thank you very much. I got to close it out with an official segment, business-wise. But in the final minute, how can folks get in touch with you and follow you on social media, Cody Davis?
You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Cody Davis _24. Once again, that's Cody COTY DAVIS _24. Why 24? Because Kobe Bryant is the GOAT. Plain and simple.
Yeah. Okay. NBA Finals, real quick prediction.
Nuggets in 6. I think Miami got one more. I'm rooting for Miami, but I got Nuggets in 6.
All right. I got Nuggets in 5, and they had to win game 3 to make that happen. Still give it a shot. So they did that. They're the better team.
Yeah.
If Denver plays their best ball, Miami plays their best ball, Denver still wins. But it's up to them to do that. If they don't, then Miami can win. Yeah. All right, everybody. Cole Sports, BS3, Ben, Asleep, Tony M, Corey Miller. Thank you very much for chiming in, participating in this edition of the Houston Roundball Review Takeover of the Lunch Break, powered by JM&E. Thanks, Cody Davis, very much, my man. We'll do it again. Hopefully, when you got time to do it. You're smart, man. You know your stuff. I'm proud of you. I'm glad to see you keep grinding.
I try to, man. I try to. You know, I learn from guys like you.
So, I mean, I'm always happy to see youngsters on that grind. And you've been on that grind. And hopefully the Texans and the Rockets, you'll start seeing some wins.
Please, I need I need to write and say the word win a little bit more often, man.
All right, we'll close it out. Thank you, everybody. AJ Jones, thank you for allowing me to host again on this edition of the Houston Roundball Review Takeover. Final moments from Miss Sybil Wilkes with what you need to know. Everyone, take care.
It's Sybil Wilkes with what you need to know. Today is Thursday, June 8th, 2023. Number 1, the Ocala, Florida woman accused of fatally shooting her neighbor Friday evening was arrested Wednesday morning. Susan Lawrence was charged with numerous crimes, including manslaughter with a firearm, culpable negligence, battery, and 2 counts of assault. The manslaughter charge carries a 30-year prison term, and Lawrence said that she acted in self-defense. The arrest was made after the Marion County Sheriff's Department completed its investigation into the 58-year-old white woman who allegedly shot through the door of her home, fatally wounding 35-year-old Ajike A.J. Owens as the African-American mother stood with her son on the doorstep. Number 2, philosopher and activist Dr. Cornel West announced his 2024 presidential campaign as a member of the People's Party Monday. Since his shocking announcement, criticism of West has emerged on Twitter regarding his questionable allegiances, referencing his support of Governor DeSantis' education policies, his membership on the Classic Learning Test CLT Advisory Board, and his membership with the People's Party, all of whom seem to participate in conservative anti-wokeism rhetoric. Number 3, male breast cancer is rare, but the American Cancer Society estimated in 2021 well over 2,500 men were diagnosed and about 530 men would die from breast cancer. Like Black women, Black men face similar health disparities when it comes to breast cancer. Not only do Black men have a 52% higher rate of contracting the disease than white men, they're also 76% more likely to die, even with similar treatment. Unfortunately, reasons for the elevated risk of breast cancer in Black men are largely unknown, but may involve a multitude of risk factors, including genetic and non-genetic factors. Number 4, Marcus Vaughn is a Black man who used to be an assembly line worker at Tesla's Fremont, California factory. In 2017, he filed a lawsuit against Tesla, claiming that it was a hotbed for racist behavior. In response, Tesla CEO Elon Musk allegedly sent an email to factory employees saying Vaughn should have tougher skin and accept the apology from the company. In court, Vaughn claimed he has sworn statements from other Black employees who were bothered by racist graffiti spray painted in the factory and the use of many racist terms, including boy, monkey, and the N-word. Number 5, Solera. a Tampa biotech company, is working to develop non-hallucinogenic medications that can be used to treat a wide range of mental health disorders. By removing the hallucinogenic properties of drugs like LSD, MDMA, and psilocybin, also known as magic mushrooms, they hope to remove the potential of unpleasant side effects and create more approachable versions of psychedelic neurotherapeutic drugs. Over the last decade, increased interest in psychedelics and their potential for treating mental illness has emerged from an unexpected corner: the veterans community, especially those who are dealing with PTSD. Here's your daily inspiration from Yogi's Jewels. Those of us who love really hard will suffer great loss. Time and space are the gifts that we give to ourselves to grieve. Join me today live on YouTube and Facebook at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central with mental health wellness contributor Aprilette Russell as we discuss today's top headlines and more. Thank you to our What You Need to Know partners, the American Heart Association and Black Health Matters. I'm Sybil Wilkes. Be informed, be empowered.